still pitching the idea. Can we please change it from the Auburn Soccer Complex to the Hoppa? I think you know where I'm going. Get to the Hoppa. Your 2024-25 athletic calendar year is officially complete. Here we sit again, my friend. It's over.
It's over. We told people last week it was not over. After last week when baseball ended on Saturday, we said 24 hours later, we said this is not over. You still got some things to look out for this week. But now, as we sit on Sunday, June 15th at 8:28 p.m. Central Time, it is over. The track and field portion of the year is ended, so that concludes the Auburn athletic season for the year.
It is. So what we're going to do is spend a very brief on each, or try as many as we can, program to just give you the high points of what happened this year. Most of you know a lot of these things, but we want to make sure we remind you and take stock of what we have here in the Auburn experience as we talk about, because we recognize most of you come for the football, the men's basketball, the baseball, the softball, maybe some gymnastics as well. But there's a lot more. There's more things going on here that we need to be thankful for and aware of what's going on, even if it's not a great thing in the program, because that's how you value the trajectory you may be heading towards improving, or what you do need to improve as a program. So this is a recap for 2024-25. Let's start in the fall. Can't go any further without talking about football. 5-7, second year under Coach Hugh Freeze. Not great. Certainly we are starting to see some of the dividends of recruiting show out individually out there on the field. But not a year that everybody was pleased with. Certainly created some conversation around that if you take yourself back to that point, Austin.
Yeah, really feels like a long way away now. And now we're at like 70 days until the next season. 70, is that right?
75 as of today, I believe.
75. There you go. So, I mean, we're really close. But, back at that point, I think a lot of people had pretty high hopes going into year two. Whether it be, a certain win total or just the recruiting, it was an uptick, and it was finally thinking maybe we'll see some guys on the field, a really highly touted freshman class in Cam Coleman, DeMarcus Riddick, others. And it just didn't pan out the way a lot of people wanted. I think there were strides seen, but just not quite there. So it's a big year three going into year three for this football staff. I think they know that better than anyone, as we've said before. But definitely an underwhelming start to that calendar year for Auburn athletics in terms of its big sport.
Yeah, and it tends to set the temperature for the year with the Auburn fandom. Certainly, as we'll talk about, some things can raise or lower that temperature, make it more palatable. And there's a lot of good this year, folks. But certainly football is one of those things that felt a bit of a drag at times, but that doesn't mean that's the way it's going to remain. The other sports that were in action in the fall, soccer, volleyball, and cross country. We'll talk about a few things here, but just as an overview real quick, soccer went 13-4 to the second round of the NCAA tournament, and a big change in regimes here. Volleyball 14-13, kind of headlined not by a not so great SEC performance, but had a big win over Kentucky, which is a big time opponent in volleyball. If you don't know that, I was there for that one. We saw it happen in person. It was a lot of fun to be at. And cross country sent 3 individuals to nationals. I forget her first name, but Jep Cheer did really well, I believe, in the cross country situation there. Now, soccer, I think, is the thing we have to touch on to round out fall, because it was the final season of Coach Karen Hoppa and shifting into Coach James Armstrong, returning from Mississippi State and previously an assistant coach under Coach Hoppa, to be here. So, Austin, I'll be honest with you. I heard through the grapevine, and all it is speculation at that time I heard this, that there were not a lot of high hopes that this year was going to be very strong. I also didn't really have it in my head that Coach Hoppa was going to leave. But what ended up happening was a very strong year for Auburn soccer. And then Coach Karen Hoppa broke our hearts, because she was the longest tenured coach left at Auburn, by my calculations, at that current time. So it was kind of a interesting switch in the things that you were excited or not excited about at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, during that time, if you go back and listen to our episodes, we talked a lot about Coach Hoppa's revenge tour, because the year before was not or was underwhelming, certainly to her and Auburn soccer standards. But they had a really good year. I think they surprised a lot of people bouncing back the way they did, but like you said, kind of flipped on a switch there in the end. It was not announced before the season or during the season. It was, so there wasn't like this kind of farewell tour, which doesn't seem like in her nature. But there was at the end of the year, it was kind of like that was going to be it for her.
Yeah.
And we talked about it a lot. A very successful career and a very lasting legacy of the kind of person she's been as a representative of Auburn and Auburn athletics. And so certainly I think she's still around, but wish her the best and exciting times for a new regime with Coach Armstrong, who's someone who's familiar with Auburn, and they'll be getting kicked off, earlier than 75 days for football. So going to be a really fun year for them. And for the first time in a long time, get to see maybe some differences in the Auburn soccer kind of roster and style of play and things like that.
Yeah, we're definitely excited for Coach Armstrong being back as being an Auburn guy. But the legacy that Coach Karen Hoppe has left is going to be lasting. And certainly we talked about our fondness for her and her program and how she's just been a staple for Auburn athletics for so long in the soccer program and is going to be greatly missed. And I'm still pitching the idea. Can we please change it from the Auburn Soccer Complex to the Hoppe? Just imagine. Get to the Hoppe, get to the Choppa. I think you know where I'm going. Get to the Hoppe. I'm just saying. Please name that now. But that is at least a little quick overview of what happened athletics wise in the fall.